So hey guys, I'm here today with Ryan. I was in Singapore for the whole of COVID pretty much.
Yep.
You know, as soon as we had COVID, I hightailed it out, went back to Singapore, spent 2 years there,
yep.
and I've only started coming back in the last couple of months.
Yep.
So obviously you were living through what a lot of people were saying was the end of London. So talk to me about what did that feel like? Because obviously you guys were coming to work, you know, you're still coming to the office.
Pretty much after the first lockdown, we started coming back into the office when they allowed really the property industry to open back up. We were coming in every day, and it was always amazing to me when I would speak to clients, and they would always, you know, they started calling me saying, I want to sell my London property, we think it's finished, and holding them off from selling those properties, which now calling them back, and they've seen sort of almost double-digit growth since the conversation started. What was strange to me in that London, even though yes it was quieter, you got on the train and you actually finally managed to get a seat all the way into the city, but what you actually saw in London was that it was resetting, but things were, when you look down, the construction that was still continuing, the work that was being put in. At the time we were looking at changing offices as well, wanted a bigger space compared to what we had already. The amount of offices that was still sort of, you were going in, putting offers on and losing out on them because, you know, in our head we're like, oh, COVID, everyone else is thinking, so we could get a hell of a deal here. Simply wasn't the case. Found out very quickly.
During COVID, or that year of COVID, one of my mates who I know, he's in commercial leasing, and he had the biggest year ever in 2021, because what was happening is everybody realized that the rates had come off. So they're moving, and I mean, we moved office twice. You know, because we were able to get spaces. You know, half the price, and then half the price double the space. You know, so made a huge difference.
Made a huge difference, and you know that very quickly, as soon as it was always amazing, and it still is amazing to me how none of those things that people kept saying about London is going to die. No one's going to come back into the city. No one's going to live here. No one's going to work here. Everyone's going to continue to work from home. And we kept saying to clients that it's not going to happen. London is a world city. London people, as soon as people, you know, right now the novelty period of it, I mean, lockdown happened during good weather and stuff, and of course people love to stay at home and they had their families, but very quickly people, I think, realized that they couldn't differentiate between work life when work finished and personal life began. And as soon as they had the first opportunity to come back, people couldn't get back into the office fast enough. And I think all we saw in London, it's not what I think, it's what I saw from every single day. We saw that gradual increase to the extent where now pretty much you would never think that COVID ever even hit London, because, you know, most offices are back. People, you know, on a Thursday night at the pub on the streets, you've seen it, Brett.
Actually, that's probably the only difference that I've noticed, besides London being just ram-packed and busy everywhere, is that actually Fridays have slowed down a lot now. So Friday afternoon beers, we used to go for Friday afternoon beers. And now it's a bit ordinary, but Thursday night, it's like people out on the pavements and everything, you know. I think work from home hasn't taken out the whole week. People are still living here, you know. And I mean, everyone was talking about the race for space, and you know, and I said this many times where my, you know, internet peers and that sort of thing was saying, oh, London tumbleweed and London, you know, and the reality is it's not going to recover. Everyone's left, every business has gone bust. This is the downfall.
And it's all total BS, because what it ultimately comes down to is what we have been saying for many years, is you cannot beat fundamentals, and London has the best fundamentals, second to none. And if you look at the young working population, regardless of how many COVIDs you put them in, ultimately they are going to want to go back to where has the best fundamentals, where can I, you know, show up schools, transport links, major employers and major investment. And it's really the major employers that is the pull for London. And regardless of whatever, it does give them the lifestyle to the other side of it as well. They can have, you know, they can have it all if they're willing to put the work into it. And if you pick your investments on the fundamentals, and these short term, I mean, COVID was something that no one had ever seen before, but these things happen. If it's not COVID, it's a, you know, economical downturn, it's something else that will come. Swine flu will probably come back around, or something else will come back around. But the fundamentals is what will keep the area so strong that regardless of what market you go through, regardless of how many people will come out and give doomsday scenarios, I mean, that whole tumbleweed stuff was just simply an opportunity for a lot of estate agents to get rid of stock that has been sitting on their books for many months in the outer areas with sort of bigger land space. And you know, a couple of them were able to jump onto the news and give their opinion just because they saw their sales rise from 0 to 1 sale a month. Or people are racing for space. But that's it further proves that London as an investment class, as something to have within a portfolio, is an absolute must because it's robust. It will maintain its value pretty well. Even if there is a correction, which there will always be a correction, it recovers the quickest and the demand, it goes through the roof. I mean, our international market right now, if you still speak to them, yes, Manchester, Birmingham, great areas, and they want to have a footfall. But the very first thing that comes out of their mouth all the time is London. What have you got in London? And I don't think those fundamentals will change.
And it's not. And it's interesting chatting to a lot of the guys that I know in Singapore. In fact, all around the network that I have, their attitude is still that London is a safe haven. So even if we've got high inflation, we've got the US, Putin attacking Ukraine, all these sort of things happening. Actually, what that does, it drives more demand to London. And really, it's an amazing market. We've got another letting agent there, business in London, and it's amazing how busy they are with sales. Things are happening, and stuff's coming on and going out straight away. I was with a friend yesterday, and he's up in St Albans, and realistically, they just haven't got enough stock. We're getting calls from our agents all around the country saying, have you got any stock for us? Have you got any stock for us in the letting side? Because they just haven't got enough, and they can't get enough. And I spoke to one, and he was saying that they only got 3 new properties on in a month. Now they've got I think they got 18 staff, which isn't actually enough transactions for them to really survive. So they're doing it tough in a market just because there's not enough stock coming on. And that's driving up the rental prices, and we're seeing it. And
we saw that in the rental recovery as well. I mean, during COVID, naturally, we had to drop the rents a little bit, but the recovery, the speed of recovery, it's actually recovered to pre-COVID and gone above, which again, reiterates the solid fundamental factor, because pretty much every investment that we have is right next to a transport link, and that transport link is massive. I've always said sort of central London is great as an area. If you've got a property there, it's probably a dinner party portfolio that you have it, but your solid investments that we mainly sort of advocate for your zone 3 to 5 as what you have in your portfolio. The rents in those areas have gone ridiculously high, and they will continue to go high. I mean, a lot of people will say it's not sustainable, but to me it is, because if you're renting a 1-bedroom apartment for 15, 16, 1700 pounds in zone 3, it's still a hell of a lot cheaper than 2.5 grand in central London.
I think the affordability issue, to a large degree, I mean, I've been here for 20 years, and in that 20 years, London has always been unaffordable, unattainable. And to be fair, most people are saying, well, it has to come down. Well, they've been saying that for 20 years. And I can tell you, I've heard the same stories, because I'm over 30 years now in the market. I mean, if you talk about Australia as well, the same stories are being said in Australia. They can't keep going up, and they do. Rents can't keep going up. It's unaffordable. How can anyone, and I think a lot of it too, as much as, you can play the mathematics, the reality is it's the media that is hyping up this unaffordability and all that sort of stuff. People find a way.
So London, always a good bet, always a great long-term bet, great to have in the portfolio. It will keep the value there. And even if your property doesn't go up in value and it maintains the same value, well, based on current inflation figures, you're making yourself 7% every year.
Yeah, well, definitely. Yeah. And I think, London's not going away. London's starting to come back, and I can't help but feeling it's the same feeling that we had in 2010. And I started running seminars again in 2010 overseas, in Hong Kong, Singapore, Malaysia, that sort of thing, talking about how London was, on the verge of coming back, and it did. 2010 to 2015, we had huge growth, and I can't help but feel that's happening now. But
absolutely echoed in the prices of developers and how they're increasing their prices. One of our biggest developers actually stopped our sales and said, hey, we've got to stop and revisit these prices, because they were selling pretty quick. So that it definitely does resemble a 2010 sort of property cycle again.
Yeah, cool. Okay, awesome. Cheers.
All right, cheers, thanks.